A lonesome geologist qualifies for a mission to Mars, but unexpectedly finds himself on a mission to find the right love. Damon resides in isolation and is a bit nerdy, so he diligently shows geological findings, like material deposits and minerals. However, the bald guy Brad cares more about his return on investment, rather than the actual facts of the report on inaccessibility. Consequently, Damon feels disappointed as a scientist. Back at home, his yoga enthusiast roommate forgets to take out the trash again. Despite this, Damon's friend invites him to do something fun and non-science related. However, being the ever-introverted person that he is, Damon hesitates. Nevertheless, his roommate gives him a book by Rumi. Meanwhile, as he keeps himself occupied, he suddenly remembers Beatrice, the person to whom he gave the Rumi book. Interestingly, Damon is constantly disturbed by his roommate upstairs making animal-like noises. To his surprise, he catches them hugging and screaming. Embarrassed, his roommate scurries away to the beach, and Damon, curious as ever, follows, bringing along his metal detector in search of deposits. Coincidentally, he encounters someone dressed in an astronaut cosplay getup. Intrigued, the woman asks him what he does, and Damon responds by saying that he has only found a bottle cap. Inquisitive, the woman requests that if he happens to find a star-shaped earring, he should let her know about it. Damon asks the woman how he will contact her, to which she jokingly responds that she lives in space, making it impossible. Nonetheless, Damon takes her request seriously, and she kindly jots down her number. As she playfully chants Red Rover repeatedly, Damon watches her, amused. Eventually, Damon returns home, thus ending the night. The next morning, the bald guy eagerly asks for the report, hoping for it to yield positive results. Damon's boss explains that he tried to convince the higher-ups and nearly had their approval, until he slipped into the issue of inaccessibility. Consequently, the company now demands more positive numbers. Disappointingly, Brad fires poor Damon for merely doing his job. Expressing his discontent, Brad states that Damon used to be invaluable to the company, but now he's not. Feeling uncertain about his next steps, Damon collects his belongings and walks away. Eventually, he comes across a spread billboard of Red Rover, which is actively seeking experts. Intrigued, he watches a video promoting the Red Rover mission, which promises an opportunity to journey to Mars. The Red Rover mission aims to expand exploration for humans and broaden horizons. Notably, it is a one-way trip with no return. The primary objective of the mission is to settle on Mars and study the possibility of life there. The video explicitly extends an invitation to scientists to join. Later, there's a knock on Damon's door, and it turns out to be Beatrice. She expresses her desire to talk about what happened the previous night. Uncertain, Damon hesitates about opening the door. Eventually, Damon finds himself back at the beach with his metal detector, even though it is raining. As usual, he discovers ordinary objects, and vents his frustration by punching the sand. Overwhelmed by everything happening in his life, losing his job and losing his girl, his heart feels heavy. To add to his misery, he accidentally hurts his foot. However, by a stroke of serendipity, he gets struck by the star-shaped earring he had been searching for. Instantly, his conversation with Beatrice comes flooding back to him. Suddenly, the astronaut woman, Phoebe, reappears and joins him, sitting down and sharing his food. In a gesture of gratitude, Damon returns Phoebe her earrings, which were given to her by her father. In return, Phoebe offers him a gift, a CD album. Curious, she asks Damon if he has explored the rover opportunity. Phoebe clarifies that she has no intention of going herself, but will only be involved in the promotion. Wondering if his house is nearby, Phoebe expresses her hope that they will meet again. With that, the astronaut girl bids Damon farewell, leaving him with her CD. To Damon's surprise, he discovers that Phoebe is also a musician. Just as he absorbs this realization, Beatrice knocks on his door once again, and Damon, hesitant but willing to confront the situation, opens the door. The two engage in a conversation about the events of the previous night, and Damon attempts to alleviate the awkwardness by acknowledging that it is indeed an awkward situation, but there's nothing to worry about. He reassures Beatrice that he was not spying, but merely stumbled upon the scene by chance. He is very apologetic, but the situation quickly escalates into an argument, as Damon is reminded that he wasn't supposed to be present. The argument takes a hurtful turn when Beatrice proposes kicking him out of the house to prevent future awkwardness. It is revealed that the house originally belonged to Damon and Beatrice, before Damon agreed to move to the basement, giving Mark and Beatrice more space. Damon feels like a discarded object, treated as trash, and he sulks in his emotions. Unexpectedly, Brad contacts Beatrice to inform her about Damon's termination from his job. Beatrice suggests that Damon should seize this opportunity to explore other options using the mortgage money. Damon reconsiders the Red Rover mission and decides to apply. However, there are specific requirements to fulfill, including an online application and a video introduction explaining why they should be chosen for the Mars mission. Damon diligently watches all the videos of potential colleagues already in space. Despite feeling insecure due to the impressive credentials of other candidates, such as soldiers and botanists, Damon proceeds with his video. To prepare physically, Damon puts in his best effort during training. During this time, he coincidentally encounters Phoebe, who is tuning her guitar. Phoebe suggests they should celebrate, and she runs off to get some food for the occasion. Damon shares his video introduction with Phoebe, but it doesn't go well. Phoebe interrupts him and describes it as terrible, noting that he sounds like a robot, and the setting resembles a dungeon or prison. Damon believes it's a mistake, but Phoebe remains positive and offers her help in improving the video. Damon attempts an impression of the character Damon from The Martian, but it turns out to be equally terrible. Phoebe, being quirky and artistic, appears to be a people person, and a stark contrast to Damon. With her characteristic enthusiasm, she cheerfully sashays away, leaving a promise to assist Damon. Later, while Damon is working in his room, Beatrice and Mark come to disturb him. Damon isn't pleased to see them, but he shows Beatrice the Red Rover advertisement poster. Beatrice had previously encouraged Damon to travel more, yet she now expresses skepticism, suggesting that it might be a scam. Damon is taken aback by Beatrice's sudden concern for his well-being. Amid their conversation, Beatrice accidentally drops a paper containing an offer to purchase the house from Damon. Damon requests a reference letter from Beatrice, despite her lack of trust in the Red Rover project. Damon remains insistent, and eventually approaches Brad, who is still unaware of Damon and Beatrice's breakup. Similarly skeptical about the Red Rover venture, Brad cunningly asks Damon if the company would sponsor him if it works out. Damon simply answers affirmatively, and gets Brad to sign the document. Phoebe and Damon begin shooting the revised video introduction. They start by using the monkey bars, but Damon's size makes it challenging. While Damon tends to be pessimistic, Phoebe remains optimistic, encouraging the process. Phoebe, determined to prove herself, tries the monkey bars with all her might. Damon dismisses her ability, considering she is a third of his size, but Phoebe challenges him to prove his theory wrong. She suggests that Damon grab onto her waist while she attempts to carry them both. However, their attempt fails, and Phoebe unexpectedly clings onto Damon without any success. As dawn arrives, they brainstorm more gimmicks to enhance their video. Embodying a playful and manic pixie persona, Phoebe playfully sprays water on Damon to make him look sweaty, and even convinces him to try jumping rope. Unfortunately, Damon struggles with the jumping rope, resulting in multiple takes that don't meet their expectations. Phoebe suggests he switches to jumping jacks, and encourages him to continue introducing himself as a geologist. However, Phoebe interjects, asserting that nobody cares about scientific stuff. She proposes a more creative approach, emphasizing rocks and science in a captivating manner. Phoebe urges Damon to discuss his sisters, but he admits that he isn't particularly close to his family. When she asks why Damon wants to go to Mars, he confesses that he doesn't really know. Phoebe suggests the idea of taking off to a new city or another country instead, but Damon argues that Mars represents the farthest place to escape. Phoebe shifts the mood and suggests they continue working on the video the next day. Before leaving, Phoebe asks for Damon's home details and promises to pick him up. Just then, Phoebe receives a call and pretends to act cute, due to the cancellation of the other person's plans. She asks Damon to join her, and inadvertently, he comments that Phoebe looks hot. They ultimately decide to go to the bar regardless. However, Damon feels uncomfortable amidst the hipster-filled atmosphere, and chooses to distance himself, observing from afar. Phoebe continues to enjoy herself, while Damon retreats and returns home. Back at his place, he constructs a launching pod while listening to podcasts about Mars. Suddenly, he hears Beatrice and Mark moaning loudly like whales upstairs, which irritates him. Frustrated, he grabs his metal detector once again. As he steps outside, he finds Phoebe waiting for him, angry that he left her behind at the bar. Phoebe then strips off her astronaut jumpsuit, as she needs to use the bathroom. While listening to Beatrice and Mark's animal-like noises, Phoebe climbs onto Damon's bed and falls asleep. Although Damon offers to arrange a cab for her, he ends up simply covering her with a blanket. The following morning, Damon finds Phoebe engaged in yoga, and he joins her. As Beatrice and Mark leave the house and notice the two of them, Beatrice doesn't appear pleased, realizing that Damon is with a new girl. Beatrice introduces herself, but Damon continues to refer to her as his ex. They discover that the grass outside is poisonous, and quickly make their way indoors. Phoebe acknowledges that the situation feels a bit off, prompting them to return to the basement. Damon offers Phoebe a cup of coffee, but she declines, stating that she needs to use the shower. Curiosity piqued, Phoebe asks Damon about his ex, and their awkward living arrangement. Damon explains that he has been living in the basement for a year while they figure things out. Phoebe takes note of the information and leaves. Meanwhile, Damon completes his makeshift space pod using a blueprint, but his focus is interrupted by a persistent knocking at the door. It turns out to be Brad. As Brad looks around, Damon finally admits to his real situation with Beatrice. Brad presents a new sponsorship opportunity and proposes a project to Damon that could potentially generate a significant amount of money if successful. The project revolves around space mining, and they are racing to be the first to delve into it. Brad urges Damon to read the details and tempts him by offering a junior partnership, belittling his chances of getting into Red Rover. Furthermore, Brad promises that if this joint exploration becomes a reality, Damon could enjoy a better life than Beatrice. Damon silently contemplates his options as he watches planes pass by. Phoebe picks Damon up in her car, informing him that if her Red Rover promotion goes well, she'll be touring the entire country with it. She takes Damon to a simulation training session at an amusement park. As they enjoy the rides, they engage in conversations about their current lives and future plans. Phoebe shares that she has no intention of going to Mars because she feels there's more she wants to accomplish on Earth. She expresses a belief in the potential for all of humanity to eventually move to Mars. Damon, feeling overwhelmed by the idea of going to Mars, considers himself crazy for even considering it. However, Phoebe encourages him to pursue the opportunity, acknowledging that they both share a sense of unfulfillment. They proceed to another ride and admire the stars, which remind Damon of Phoebe's earrings. Phoebe reveals that her father passed away not long ago, around the same time as her breakup. As a child, she had an obsession with stars, and her father would tell her the story of how the stars fell from the sky, akin to a coyote story. She shares the tale of how the stars were scattered across the sky, resembling the story of the coyote. Phoebe expresses her belief that the coyote story doesn't resonate with Damon. Feeling upset, Damon hesitates to comfort her by putting his arms around her, fearing it may be inappropriate. However, Phoebe reassures him that she likes it. They make their way to his basement and start kissing passionately. Damon feels immense happiness as their intimate encounter continues, with the two of them stripping down and making love inside the makeshift pod, symbolically taking off into space amidst the heavenly bodies. After their passionate encounter, Phoebe, feeling like a rebound, notices a framed photo of Damon and Beatrice together. Upset by the realization that he may not be over his ex yet, she quietly leaves Damon sleeping in the pod. Damon wakes up alone in the pod, with Phoebe nowhere to be found. In the morning, Mark, going about his usual yoga routine, asks Damon about Phoebe's whereabouts, but Damon learns that Mark hasn't seen her. Concerned, Damon sets out on a walk to search for her. He calls Phoebe, inquiring about her location and well-being. While searching, Damon comes across a poster on a lamppost promoting Phoebe's music. He spots Phoebe putting up the posters, seemingly nonchalant about what transpired between them. Damon perceives their connection as something special, but Phoebe brushes it off, considering it just a fleeting distraction, a fantasy similar to Mars. Damon insists that it's not true, but Phoebe remains unmoved, asserting that she's going to focus on her own path and protect her heart in peace. Damon walks away, accepting her decision peacefully. Returning home, Mark inquires about the papers Damon mentioned. Damon confronts him and a fight ensues, with Mark mocking Damon further when Phoebe is mentioned. Beatrice intervenes, attempting to stop the altercation as Damon bleeds. She follows him down to the basement, offering some comfort and assistance with his injuries. Damon questions Beatrice, unable to understand why she chose Mark over him. Beatrice admits that she doesn't really know why, but suggests that people often seek something different, something exciting. Damon, in his frustration, asks Beatrice if she ever truly loved him. In response, Beatrice asks for the password to read him the letter she wrote for his Red Rover application. She begins reading the reference letter, highlighting their long-standing friendship since high school and their inseparability. Beatrice praises Damon's reliability, commitment, and numerous positive qualities that make him an excellent candidate for the program. Overwhelmed with happiness, Damon kisses Beatrice, but she reacts with disgust. Driven by spite and influenced by the words of the women in his life, Damon destroys the space pod. As he reflects on their words, he receives an unexpected call from Gopi, a representative from Red Rover. Gopi informs Damon that he has been pre-selected, despite Damon not recalling applying for the program. It turns out that Damon's video application has been uploaded, and has become one of the most viewed videos on their application site. Confused and unsure about his feelings, Damon learns that there will be a one-on-one interview conducted in his area in 2 weeks. This news brings both promise and uncertainty to Damon's mind. Curiosity piqued, Damon checks the video on YouTube and discovers that it was edited by Phoebe. Phoebe appears in the video, talking about Damon and showcasing spliced clips of him, including the revelation that he stays in his ex-partner's basement. Phoebe offers a heartfelt recommendation, expressing why Damon should be chosen for the project, and emphasizing his potential contributions. Motivated by Phoebe's video, Damon dedicates himself to physical training, including running and enduring distasteful green smoothies. He also resumes the restructuring of the space pod. Damon returns to Brad with a new suggestion, proposing using lithium to power car batteries for a lucrative market. However, Brad dismisses the idea, insisting on something bigger and more exciting. He is primarily focused on growing the business, even if it means disregarding the well-being of the planet. Damon, committed to ethical boundaries, disagrees, emphasizing the importance of caring for a planet, rather than exploiting it solely for financial gain. Brad argues that Damon's thinking is short-sighted, asserting that small things hold no significance if they are crushed. He attempts to drill into Damon's mind the notion that colonizing another planet renders concerns about the well-being of a single planet inconsequential. Brad tries to erase Damon's commitment to environmental stewardship and replace it with the concept of unbridled exploitation in pursuit of profit. Damon attends the interview for Red Rover, accompanied by another applicant named Maya, a botanist. To their surprise, the interview is being live-streamed worldwide, leaving Damon flabbergasted. Maya introduces herself and compliments Damon's video, acknowledging his skills as a geologist. Damon returns the compliment, recognizing Maya's expertise as a botanist. Their nervousness grows as they witness a frustrated applicant exiting the interview room. Damon is called in to meet with Gopi and another applicant, with Phoebe's face paused in the background. Gopi mentions that they are seeking someone who can connect well with others. He praises Damon's video, noting that it resonated with the public, due to Damon portraying a broken individual striving for personal growth. This relatability garnered attention and touched many hearts. Gopi suggests that the interview is an opportunity to get to know each other better, and asks Damon about his thoughts on the potential mission. Gopi explains that Red Rover is a one-way ticket, with participants leaving everything and everyone behind for a brand new life. Damon casually expresses that it is not a concern for him, providing no further elaboration. When Gopi asks if there are any other questions, Damon once again responds nonchalantly, saying he has none. As the conversation wraps up, Gopi states that they will keep in touch. However, Damon hesitates and decides to pose a question of his own. He asks what exactly they will be doing on Mars, expressing his concern about the potential consequences for the planet. Damon hopes that the mission will have a deeper purpose, beyond mere escapism or expansion, aiming to create a new world that benefits everyone. He asserts that if the purpose of colonizing Mars is shallow, nobody should venture there. Damon leaves the interview room and subsequently returns the files to Brad, rejecting his proposal. Brad is left perplexed by Damon's decision. Damon finds himself back at the beach with his metal detector, listening to the sound of space in his ears. Memories of Beatrice resurface, recalling their conversations about her new adventure. Though physically apart, Damon and Beatrice remain connected. Damon expresses his feelings and proposes, but Beatrice does not reciprocate his sentiments, and instead feels sorry. She discloses that she met someone, Mark, in Melbourne, unintentionally connecting with him. Beatrice apologizes, and suddenly shifts the blame onto Damon for not joining her in Australia, gaslighting him. Damon reveals that during her absence, he kept Beatrice's grandmother's ring every day, intending to return it. Frustrated and hurt, Damon throws the ring away, distancing himself from Beatrice. Every day thereafter, he has searched the beach for the ring. Eventually, Damon successfully finds the ring, and experiences a mix of sadness and triumph, perhaps attributing a stray twig to the tears in his eyes. He remains seated on the beach, witnessing the sky's breathtaking hues of pink, purple, and blue. Afterward, Damon returns and looks for Beatrice, only to find Mark in her presence. He returns the signed papers to Mark and requests privacy. Mark obliges and leaves. Damon returns the ring to Beatrice, realizing that its meaning has transformed, symbolizing their ability to move on from each other. Surprisingly, Beatrice expresses gratitude towards him for taking that action. Shortly after, Damon receives another call from Gopi, who reveals that he is one of the 20 people selected for the project. Gopi emphasizes the importance of individuals like Damon, who can guide humanity's expansion on Mars in the right direction, acknowledging that it is inevitable. Gopi instructs Damon to bring some money, pack his bags, and say his goodbyes. Damon calls Phoebe to share the news, but reaches her voicemail. He expresses his gratitude for her role in his success. Damon then proceeds to pack his belongings, ensuring his apartment is empty, before leaving and boarding the train. At the train station, Damon encounters Maya, who excitedly approaches him and appreciates his honesty during the interview. Maya reveals that she is shocked to have been selected, and suspects that the producer pushed for her inclusion in the same group as Damon, though she's unsure of the reasons behind it. Damon, on the other hand, remains unfazed by this revelation. Curious if Damon is ready for the journey, Maya inquires about his thoughts. Damon confesses his dislike for flying, which he perceives as a potential problem. Maya offers her assistance, and instructs him to shut his eyes. She guides Damon through an imaginative exercise, having him envision himself sitting in a pod that launches into the sky, escaping Earth's atmosphere, and venturing into space. Damon's imagination takes him on a literal journey out of this world, landing on the reddish-brown crust of Mars. He describes the diverse landforms and masses he envisions, as well as the awe-inspiring sight of galaxies and stars. In his imagination, Damon catches a glimpse of Phoebe. He further contemplates the potential growth of species on the planet. Maya explains that what Damon experienced is known as the overview effect. However, she senses that something is troubling Damon's mind, prompting her to ask what is wrong. It becomes apparent that Damon's thoughts are preoccupied with something else. Meanwhile, Phoebe's soothing voice fills the empty bar as Damon rushes towards her. He enters the bar, captivated by Phoebe's performance, but she doesn't notice him and continues singing her heart out. Damon is entranced by her talent and applauds as she finishes, but Phoebe doesn't seem to appreciate the applause. She moves away from the stage, and Damon follows, determined to catch up with her. Phoebe appears unhappy to see him, as she believes he should be preparing to go to Mars. However, Damon confesses that he is terrified of the prospect. Phoebe assumes that when things get difficult, Damon simply runs away. Expressing her belief that they aren't meant to be together, Phoebe suggests that they are both just sad individuals seeking comfort. Nevertheless, Damon insists that they can work through their challenges together. He acknowledges that Phoebe has changed his perspective and brought light into his previously bleak life, using geological terms to describe his prior dissatisfaction. Damon asserts that instead of escaping and fading away somewhere out there, he would prefer to stay by Phoebe's side. Their conversation leads to a passionate kiss, symbolizing a fresh start and a new life, not in some distant universe, but right here on Earth. Phoebe and Damon drive away together, embarking on their next galactic adventure.